Stop button. Duration 3. Stop button. Speech off.
Okay, so 2025 is drawing to a close, and it feels like that even though we have like a couple weeks of October. Well, 2 if we get technical, and then we no, like 1.5-ish, like a week and a couple days, or like okay, whatever. The point is, okay, you know what, let me just say like 17-ish more days. I'll sort out the math later. It's October 14th. You're going to be seeing this 2 days or 3 days later. But I feel like this is an important thing that I want to cover. I am going to stir the pot a little bit. I just know it. Or maybe I won't. And maybe people are going to understand where I'm coming from. My thoughts on Christianity, because I feel like I need to clarify this. I don't know if any of you have watched the Taylor Alicia videos in full. And if you've heard what, my clarification, if you heard the video that's titled Recorded 8/22/2025, where I talk about the Supreme Court, basically Supreme Court and gay marriage lore. Because that's kind of what it is. And my thoughts on that, and how religious people, like hardcore religious people, are taking it a bit too far. I was raised Christian. Hold up, let me see. Okay, we're good. I was raised Christian. I started questioning things. Well, I started kind of deciding, fuck it, I'm gonna fall back at the age of 9. After a seizure, the age of 10. After the second seizure that I had, after things were starting to go a bit downhill for me when it came to a certain someone, it wasn't like super bad yet, but I was like, okay, so then what's the point of, I think in my little kid brain, it was like, what's the point of believing? Or, well, almost preteen brain. And I did not tell this to anyone. Like, I kept it on the down low, and I did not tell anyone. Then 4th grade, okay, so mind you, I was starting to question this when I was in 3rd grade. So age 10, this was a day after going to my brother's purity ceremony, because at this school that he went to, I don't know if all Christian private schools work like this, but at the one that he went to, there was a purity ceremony. They had, so he had to be in 7th grade. I was in 3rd. Yeah. He was in middle school. So I'm assuming if I have the timing correct, they do this in middle school. And I think a day after, I was just kind of questioning, internally, or thinking like, what's the point in believing if these are the kinds of things that happen? And just a lot was going on for me when it came to school, when it came to a certain someone. Like I said, it had not gotten bad until it hadn't gotten like super bad until like 4th grade. There were a couple red flags here and there that I should have paid attention to. Little comments she made even during the summer, but we're gonna leave that out, and we're gonna, well, at least out of this video, for this recording, a couple months went by. I left it alone. I didn't tell anyone. I listened to the radio. I went about my life. I struggled. All the shit that happened. 4th grade, toward the end of the first half of that year. So, November, December-ish. Things had hit a low point. And I remember one day my dad was like, "It seems like you like your music more than you like the Lord." Pretty apathetic thing to say when you know that things are at a low point with me and this other person and, school in general. Pretty apathetic thing to say. I still remember he said that, by the way. It's like, yo, I was listening to music. It was my coping mechanism. What did you expect? And I'm developing. All these things are going on. I'm 10 going on 11 at this point. And, for me, it was, at the time, like, obviously I didn't know about all these content creators, hyper-religious people. But even as, like, a 10-year-old, hearing, I think you like the music more than you like, I think you like your music more than you like the Lord, and that tone that he used, I was like, yo, a bit much. Chill out. And so I leave it alone, go about my life, struggle, act out, because I feel like nobody is understanding, get told that I will not amount to anything other than washing dishes and making beds in the future. Oh, by the way, Wilhelmina Butts, just so you know, I'm in college now. Little side note. And it's not because of you. Okay? Okay? Are we clear? Thank you. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, I, 5th, 6th, first half of 5th grade, I'm still with her. Then I transfer out of that school back to my old school. Things are as good as you can get when certain things happen and you're not believed, and you try to make the best of it with the occasional acting out and thinking it's funny to prank call and X, Y, and Z and all that. 7th grade, I go to middle school. 2 years at one of the middle schools near where I live. High school, 4 years at a high school near where I live. And then, mind you, the second half, the rest of my 11th grade year, so from March to June of 2020, was spent distance learning. A half-assed version, because at the time, there was no synchronous or asynchronous. It was a little, put together as this is what we need to do to get through the rest of the year, and we'll figure out the rest when you return, kind of thing. And then, during that time, I was more into the God thing. I had prayed occasionally before, but then I think this time it was like a lot more. And then I got into the habit of praying daily or I think it was like every day or every other day. And then there's a lot more as far as the pandemic, fears that I had because of things that were being said, which I will elaborate more later. And then what ends up happening is, senior year, the whole year, distance learning. Now it's more organized, I, in my personal life, get in the habit of, again, praying every day or every other day. And then, Christian music comes a little more into the picture. Like, I remember I kind of dropped some of the Christian music, like in 10th, 11th-ish grade. Listened to a couple songs here and there. I think it was like 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. It was like every so often. And then when I graduate high school, it becomes even more of a thing. Like, yes, I still listen to secular music, but Christian music had become a bit more like prevalent, I guess, in my personal life. And then I go to OCB, come back, do some classes here at the Center for the Blind, go back to OCB, come back, do classes, go to, start college. During this time, I come across religious or like hyper-religious content creators. I watch Young Sheldon, where, the family is Baptist, Mary, the mom, is like hyper-religious. And I start to match that with the content creators that I was listening to, and I'm like, yes, Young Sheldon is meant to be comedy, it's meant to be, entertainment, but there is some truth to the way that the Christian families or like the hyper-religious members of the family are being portrayed. There is some truth to that. Now I have not been around like your Southern Baptist family, like in Texas, so I can't tell you if like every single thing is true. But in Young Sheldon, Missy, the daughter, was not allowed to go to dances. When Sheldon was caught playing Dungeons and Dragons, it was considered sinful. Comic books that had images that eventually, kids and preteens are going to come across, the mom found sinful. She goes through this phase where she takes everyone's things and then replaces them with like religious versions of them. And then there was another phase where what was it? Like, she gets so wrapped up in the church, and the pastor shoves her family aside until the church turns on her when her oldest son Georgie is about to have a kid, and Mandy, his girlfriend, does not want to get married, and they're like, the couple has to be married or the baby's going to hell. Because, teenagers doing dumb stuff, or not necessarily dumb stuff, but like, they were not careful. I should have phrased that better. They were not careful. And, the church turned on Mary, turned on the family. What was the tipping point was when somebody in the Sunday school class where Sheldon and Missy were tells them that their older brother Georgie is going to hell. Missy, the badass, punches this kid in the face. Now look, I'm not saying I condone violence, but you hit that church boy and you show the parents and anyone else that this shit is not tolerated. Because church, they're like, oh, we're a loving community, we're a community, we're this, we're that. And then to turn on a member of the congregation like that, it's like, some of you do deserve to get slapped. I'm sorry. You do. And there's the hypocrisy in the church where it's like, you know, you're a part of a family, or you're a part of the congregation, you're a part of the community, whatever. The minute it doesn't suit them, you're pushed out. And that was, I tossed it around in my head and I'm like, oh shoot. And Sheldon was made to go to church. Or I think he went with his mom. I don't know. He just went to tag along and to kind of challenge the pastor. But in reality, he was an atheist. He believed more in like science and the logical stuff. And the mom did try to push her beliefs onto him. Which, okay, I get it, you know, somewhat. You know, there's a little kid. And you think...
Speech off. 20% back. Low power mode.
Hold on,
Button. To my... Stop. Button. Stop. Button. Speech off.
You think that you have to, you know, do whatever it is you think you need to do for your kid. But at some point, it's like when you notice that rejection and you notice that he's just going to, you know, challenge the pastor, it's like he thinks the way he thinks and you think the way you think, let it go. And I think eventually, it seems, just from what I was getting from the show, it seems like she lets it go. So it's young Sheldon. The first part of the show is like, you know, Sheldon from 9 to about, I want to say 15-ish. And then Mandy enters the picture. Mandy being Georgie's girlfriend, eventually becomes his wife. And then the second part of young Sheldon is more focused around Georgie and Mandy with their kid as a family. Missy is shown a couple times. Mary is practically hidden, is the way that I can say it. Or she just kind of like, she's just doing her own thing. I think you can find it. I don't know if it's like on Netflix or like other streaming services. I need to check on Audio Vault if they have it. I don't know. I don't know, dude. I have to check. But I need to clarify something here. I am not against Christianity. There are some aspects of it where it's like you can't, you know, to the Christians that are like crime persecution, you can't complain when people are making you out to be silly idiots, when there are things that are just, no. Content creators who scam their audience turn to Christianity. You got, whether it's an MLM or some product, and then it doesn't go well, and then they turn to Christianity because they got caught. Now look, maybe you did have an awakening or something, or maybe, I don't know, maybe something happened. But most of the time, it seems like they do it because they're like, don't look at what I did before. Don't look at the fact that I scam people out of X, Y, and Z amount of money. This is my new era. You need to look at this. You need to do everything I say, or you're crap. And then it's like, they get called out for it, they don't like it. And then you got, for example, Brittany Dawn, who has become a bit of a momfluencer. I'm gonna link Bethany Michaels' channel so that way you can see. There's not one particular video. You would have to go through for yourself and see what I'm talking about. What I also don't like is the whole submissive wife thing. I am not against marriage. I'm not against marriage between a man or a woman. I'm not against marriage of any kind. Just no abuse, no spiritual manipulation, no manipulation of any kind. And we're good. If you guys need to get a divorce, or if you guys need to separate for whatever reason, irreconcilable differences, or you got a shitty abusive spouse, leave. Like, you know, you have the right to get a divorce in this country as of now for a reason. Until some lunatic decides they want to ban no-fault divorce or divorce entirely. Because yes, that is a talking point among hardcore religious people in MAGA, and I'm assuming the manosphere. I don't know, it's bleh. Okay? I'm just gonna say that. So it is, you know, something that, you know, unfortunately, the way I had to word that, it's because dumbasses, lunatics have some ideas where it's like, really? So yeah, the submissive wife thing, Paul and Morgan is a good example. Oh, so you have to do everything your husband says? Oh, he can't be made fun of at least once? I'm not saying humiliate him. I'm not saying cuss him out. I'm just saying you can't make a joke where it's a little bit of self-deprecation on his part, where he makes a joke about himself, and then you play along with it, and then he says, oh, I've been told that I'm being disrespected as a man, when you, sir, decided to go along with it. You wanted to make those funny videos. Again, Bethany Michaels' channel for reference, because she comments on this. And you need to, I feel like you would need to get like the whole scoop on like what all that was about. I think it was like Instagram Reels, which, mind you, I don't have Instagram. I tried making an account under another name to
Speech on. Done. Dim. Button. Pause. Button. To vital DR. Top of screen. Done. Dim. Pause. Button. Speech off.
to remain anonymous, and I couldn't. Different story. But yeah. You know, the whole submissive wife thing, it's insane. Morgan, I believe, had some kind of like issue where, I don't know if it was her back or her head that was hurting. They go to the ER, they run some tests, they recommend that she gets some kind of treatment. They leave the hospital and they're like, you know, this doesn't align with our religious beliefs. And then they say, oh, the doctor is this Indian lady, why should we trust her? Or something along those lines. That's another thing about religious people too. The racism embedded in Christianity as well is nuts. The conspiracy theories against Muslims is nuts. You know, Roseanne Barr, with some of the stuff she said, I will link Peden's video about that in the description as well. Mega churches, or churches where
Speech on. Done. Pause. Button. Speech off.
you give the pastor money because they tell you to, and then they go ahead and live a lavish lifestyle. Jesse Duplantis and Jesse Duplantis and Kenneth Copeland are perfect examples of this. I'm gonna link Fundy Friday's video about Kenneth Copeland. During the pandemic, Kenneth Copeland decides to say, your job isn't your source. If it is your source, you're in trouble. Jesus is your source. And then he's like, basically saying he doesn't care how you get the money to the church. You have to tithe. I have been thinking about this. I don't feel like tithing should be made an obligation. Pastors shouldn't pressure you to give money, especially to mega churches. And if you don't know where those donations are going, if they're going to a pastor's lavish lifestyle, no, I'm sorry. No, tithing should not be an obligation. If it's like a church that does like community events, if they do like food drives, or if they're going to help a member of the congregation, let's say a member of the congregation gets sick, or something happens, like they develop a condition where they become disabled and they need equipment and they cannot buy it on their own, like a wheelchair lift, things like that. If the church pulls together money, from the congregation, and they buy that stuff and there's proof that they actually bought it and that it went to the person, I'm okay with that. If there's money donated for like food drives, or even if you just donate like cans of food or like hygiene products or something, and there's proof that it's going where the church leaders are saying where it's going, I'm for it. I'm not for tithing just to tithe and not knowing where the donations go. And anyone who does that is, how can I say this nicely? You're a genius. And I'm saying that sarcastically.
Utilities. Heading. Voice memos. Double. Stop. Button. Duration. 27 minutes. 29 seconds. Stop. Button. Duration. Tamayo DR4. Sheet grabber. Button. Pause. Done. Pause. Button. Fast forward. Pause. Button.
So yeah, those are my thoughts on tithing. The whole rapture thing, I'm not in support of either. It's funny to hear how some people crash out, and it's funny to hear what's the ways that they prepare, because I mean, what else can you do other than laugh at them? But
pause button.
When there's kids involved and you're scaring them, or they think that you're gonna get raptured and they're gonna get left behind, yeah, no. And then the whole we're all born depraved thing, not a huge fan of either. Actually not a fan of any of those things at all. Demonizing Labubu's, demonizing Halloween, demonizing a harmless ass Christmas movie, demonizing anything that does not focus on them is those are things I'm not in favor of either. I don't hate you if you're a Christian. I just don't, there are things that I do not like that have been embedded into Christianity. And for those of you that cry persecution, you cannot complain because you've let all of this go unchecked.
Pause. Button.
I'm not gonna feel sympathy for you because you have allowed this to happen.
Child 4:16 p.m. Top of screen. Book done. Pause. Button. Speech off.
Some of you surround yourselves with these people, and some of you actually are these kinds of people. And frankly, I don't want to hear you guys crying, but I know I will somehow. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Christianity. Again, I am not calling for you guys to be hurt in any way. I'm not calling for anything like that. And I'm not saying I hate you guys. I just do not like a lot of the mess that is embedded in Christianity, and that a lot of people condone it and kiki ha ha ha, and you know, celebrate these people that do all these stupid ass things, and then complain when, you know,
Speech on. Utilities.
when
Heading.
they get called
Voice memos.
out.
Double tap to open. Voice memos. Sheet grab. Done. Pause. Button.
The street preaching at pride parades where you're clearly not wanted, where you're, well, more like your bullshit is not wanted. You wanting to share the gospel with people, and then if they say no, some of you are very pushy. You know, that also doesn't help. I don't condone street preachers' equipment getting vandalized. I wouldn't condone anyone's stuff getting vandalized. I'm just saying, like, some of you just push and push and push and do not know when to stop. And those are my thoughts.
Passcode field. 0 of 6 step. Voice memos. Compass. Voice memos. Double tap to open. Voice memos. Sheet grabber. Button. Double tap to collapse the sheet.
Those are my thoughts. I am gonna pause.
Done.
I
Button.
know I've stirred the pot. Don't sue me. Thank you. Boy.
Pause. Button.